under the cloak of night. Driven by a desperate yearning for a past slipping rapidly from his grasp, Prince Harry made one last, almost pleading call to King Charles III. His request was simple in words but monumental in meaning: to retain Frogmore Cottage, the only physical link he still possessed to the royal life he had abandoned. Yet the response he received was chilling in its finality. "You have no business there," the king replied without hesitation, delivering not just a personal rejection, but a royal decree that shattered any lingering illusions. In that instant, any remaining thread tethering Harry to the monarchy was severed, not with ceremony, but with ruthless, unmistakable certainty. This brutal rebuff did not merely concern real estate. It was a symbolic execution, a clear message echoing through the ancient corridors of Windsor and Buckingham. There is no place left for the disloyal. King Charles's decision signaled not just disappointment, but a strategic move to protect the crown from further scandal, betrayal, and disintegration. And in the shadows behind this final severance stands Meghan Markle, whose influence over Harry has, for many observers, been the true engine driving the collapse. When Meghan Markle first entered royal life, she was heralded as a breath of fresh air, modern, dynamic, transformative. But within months, the fairy tale began to curdle. Royal insiders whisper that from the beginning, Meghan bristled under the constraints of tradition, seeking not to adapt but to dominate. Public smiles hid private clashes. Every minor grievance, every unspoken slight, slowly accumulated into an arsenal of resentments, a weaponized narrative that would later be unleashed on the very institution that had welcomed her. Under Meghan's influence, Harry's trajectory changed with startling speed. Once one of the most beloved members of the royal family, the daring, charismatic soldier prince, he became a figure of division, casting stones at the very walls that had once protected him. From the infamous Oprah interview to the relentless revelations of Spare, Harry and Meghan systematically dismantled royal mystique, trading centuries of silent duty for fleeting moments of headline-driven empowerment. Yet actions have consequences. With every televised grievance, with every unsubstantiated allegation, trust within the royal family eroded. Invitations dried up. Communications grew cold. Alliances that had taken decades to build were undone in months. And now, with the king's decisive rejection of Harry's plea for Frogmore, the final door has slammed shut, and it will not reopen. The symbolism of Frogmore Cottage is impossible to ignore. It was not just a home. It was an inheritance, a promise of belonging to the royal bloodline. To be expelled from it is to be cast out entirely, stripped not of titles alone, but of legacy, of identity, of sanctuary. In the cold calculation of the monarchy, preserving the crown outweighs preserving sentiment. Harry's loyalty had become too questionable, his public attacks too costly. The monarchy is an ancient machine, ruthless in self-preservation. And in that moment, it turned its full weight against its prodigal son. Meanwhile, Meghan and Harry's world in America grows increasingly precarious. Once media darlings, they now face crumbling contracts, plummeting approval ratings, and dwindling relevance. Their brand, built on royal prestige and framed in the language of victimhood, is beginning to fray. Without Frogmore, without the subtle living link to Windsor, they are merely celebrities among millions, no longer royal, no longer unique. Behind palace walls, insiders say, King Charles's decision was unanimous among senior royals. Prince William, in particular, reportedly supported the move, believing that any lingering ties to Harry would only invite further chaos. Even Queen Camilla, once a conciliator behind the scenes, is said to have backed the firm response, viewing it as necessary for the monarchy's survival in a ruthless modern media landscape. For Harry, the exile is total. His return, if ever contemplated, would be as a stranger, not a prince. The gates of Frogmore, and by extension the gates of Windsor itself, are now closed to him not out of anger, but out of cold strategic necessity. Meghan's vision of building a new empire outside of royal control, built on fame, sympathy, and selective outrage, has left Harry more isolated than ever, a pawn sacrificed in a much larger game. And yet the true tragedy may only now be unfolding. Insiders hint that Meghan's ambitions continue to grow. Whispers of political aspirations, strategic alliances, new rebranding efforts. If true, it suggests that for her, the loss of royal ties was a calculated risk. For Harry, however, it may prove to be an irrevocable personal cost, the permanent loss of a family, a heritage, and a future he once took for granted. As the world watches, one thing becomes clear. The fairy tale is over. The exile is real. And this time, there will be no last-minute redemption. King Charles has spoken, not just as a father but as a king. The firm moves on, cold and eternal, while Harry and Meghan face the chilling reality of a world where royal blood no longer guarantees protection, and ambition without loyalty leaves only ashes.